Early in 2009, the Arts Council, working in partnership with the reading agency Museums, Libraries and Archives Council, commissioned research to help them understand the needs and aspirations of the public with respect to reading. The findings were to feed into a programme to promote reading as a creative experience. The research was carried out amongst people from across a range of readers, from those who never picked up a book but might read a newspaper or magazine, through to those who had at least one book on the go and might also get involved in book groups and other social reading activities. The research set out to answer a number of specific questions. These were: do people value reading, and why? What role does reading play in their lives? Why are some people unenthusiastic about reading? Is reading seen as a creative activity? Can reading be a social activity? How is it different to the individual experience? Is technology changing how and what we read? What would the public like to see as a vision for reading? What could individuals and organisations do to help realise that vision? This short film will give you an idea of the range of views expressed on these issues. It cannot hope to give you the full picture. A copy of the full report can be found on the Arts Council website.
It's kind of me reenacting the story to what I'm reading at the time.
Okay.
Trying to relive the scenery, landscape, sights, smells, all that sort of thing. So I kind of picture myself actually being in the story itself that I'm actually reading about. So I just put the feeling of being somewhere else or living the story.
You know, the more I read, the more the doors of my mind open up, and it's like food, you know, because you sit there and you think about it. When you watch television, it's all instant. You know, you watch the news and blah blah blah, and then you remember flashes, but you actually forget about the main content. Because when you actually read something, you tend to analyse it in your brain, and it tends to stay in there.
Okay.
But I mean, you know, a biography is a story of someone's life, so in that sense, you know...
Even a Haynes Manual is a story about how you start at this point, or even assembling your IKEA, you know, chest of drawers,
like,
whatever
you
it
know,
is. It's a story from beginning, middle and end.
Yeah.
I've got a set list of things that I have to do every evening. As soon as I know when those are done, then I can go have my bath and read, whatever.
Yeah.
So it is a treat.
Tend to read a lot on holiday, can't ever find the time at home, so I've got 2 children and it's running them around, so to me reading is when I've got time and it's relaxing.
Okay.
And it stops me thinking about work, otherwise I take work into my dreams and I start thinking about it at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh, I haven't done this. So it stops all that. It's like, it says, right, that's finished.
Yeah.
That day has gone. And you know, and I need to rest, so it just shuts my brain down.
Okay.
But she'd read Harry Potter over and over again. And she'd go to sleep on it. It was very comfortable.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, I know my daughter's rereading The Twilight. I can't remember that by now.
And Stephanie Myers.
Stephanie Myers. Over and over and over and over and over and over.
Just that book, Twilight?
Oh, no, the whole
series.
The
whole series, yeah. I think there's a period from about 8 to 17. Just the books you read then just sort of almost define you somehow, and it's harder work for a book to do that to me now. You know, it's got a bigger hurdle to leap basically.
But as you said, if they go into the library and actually start to look at the fun things that are their teenagers, you know, and loitering about on the street, if they actually went in there and used the internet and started looking at the books, they suddenly realised they actually I mean, I knew somebody who I always thought was a bit of a yob, but was heavily into opera. You know, everything else was just rubbish, but he liked opera, and there's other people that like war and all sorts of different types of stories. Until they've gone in there, they don't know those things exist.
Back when I was at school, if you was ever seen in the library, you know, like, and your mates were there around you sort of thing, you'd be like, that's what you'd be classed as. You'd be like, well, you know, what are you doing in there, you geek? It's just so like, you know, in a way, it's like bullying, isn't it? You know, oh, there is the library again, sort of things.
I'm hearing like little stigma things attached to reading, like geeky, basically.
I like to see a story with pictures, to be honest. It might sound really childish or whatever, but that's the way it is.
I think people who struggle with reading forget that actually watching a film is reading. They forget, I think, or don't quite
it's visual
because they just think it's pictures or manga books or comics and or computer games, you know, because they don't consider that reading, and yet they are reading. The very fact that we're sitting at a table and, you know, not 80%, 75, 90%, and in fact it's 90% of our understanding of what's going on is all through body language, and that is silent. And then there's no words there.
But I do think that the internet's had a huge influence on me personally. I used to sort of go to libraries as a child, but I wouldn't sort of go to a library now to pick up a book. But if I've got it in front of me on my computer, I'm more likely to read it.
If someone talked about, for example, we want to encourage creative reading, how would you respond to that?
I'd feel fairly patronised.
I'd have to ask what they define as creative.
I don't think I'd know. I understand creative writing, creative reading,
something that leads on from reading a book. It's not just reading a book, it's something else.
It's difficult, it's one of those things.
I mean, but isn't all reading creative? You know, you're given a sentence, you know, you started reading a book and you're imagining and putting your views and your background and everything else onto what the information you get. And I mean, some of the books you get, something I read recently, and I got to, you know, a couple of chapters in, and I suddenly thought, this isn't a male, it's a female. And there was just that one sentence that suddenly defined the sex of the character.
Family nights. Not quite sure exactly how they work, but run activities to get the whole of the family down so that perhaps they'd have an author in or a celebrity or somebody reading to the kids whilst the adults then got a bit of private reading time for themselves, or an author coming in and talking to the adults while the library did something for the kids, so that everybody was involved at the same time.
The first one we've got is iPod, downloading short stories onto an iPod. I think it'd be a good idea for people like students who are on the train or, you know, the bus, again for revision, things like that purposes. That's one idea.
The other one we come with was short stories featuring to maintain interest. The other one we say try before you buy.
You get like rewards for reading. If you get paid, that'd be fantastic, so I'll be reading every day.
That was the only thing that was going to make this chap read, was if you got paid.
They had they had not very, very good ones. They did have stories there.
But a lot of the weekend, various bits of the weekend papers have fiction, either serialised or one-off short stories. So, you know, you get a short story a day in the metro and you'd be
Some sort of serial sounds good to me, because it makes you want to find out what's going to happen.
That's Charles Dickens.
Yeah, absolutely.